Let's talk about it.
And there we are. We're off.
Hello
Off to
there.
the races.
How's
No
it?
comments
How
yet.
are you? How are you?
Busier than a one-legged dog in a butt kicking contest. if that aids to anything.
You know what? You know what? I get it. So am I. So it's. I feel like everybody and their dog, horse, cat, bird, are busy. I really do. I feel like so many
Hey,
people are
Jen.
busy.
Good to see you.
My God. Hey,
It's
Jen.
kind of, we've spent some time over the last 24 hours. Lori and I have kind of whittled around trying to find some new locations to investigate, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're facing some stuff here with people in the Bible Belt, and you demon chasers. That's kind of what I've literally been called a demon chaser before, so whatever. But how have you been?
I've been good. In the last couple of weeks, so I was not on last week's episode. The lovely wife, Lori, your lovely wife, was able to step in for me, so I very much appreciate that. Last weekend, I did a 2-day metaphysical event where I hosted readings. There was over 1,000 people that came through the door.
Wow.
I was booked. Like, I'm so blessed and so grateful. Thanks for everybody that stopped by. The first day I was booked up within 20 minutes, and the second day I was booked up 15 minutes before the show started. I had people chasing me the parking lots trying to get readings. I had people hiding in my booth in the morning when I got there, scared the bejesus out of me. Like, it was fantastic, but it was pretty chaotic. So it took me a couple days to recover from that.
Yeah, recover.
But I love meeting people, and I was able to help some people, and that really kind of made that that caramelized my onions, as you like to say. And then this week, I did some cleansings and a lot of readings. And then I did a really cool interview yesterday with the lovely Zoe Starr and Paranormal Extraction. So I talked a lot about us, but so that was kind of my week. That's what I did.
There you go. Well, it sounds like a full week.
It was a busy full week.
Between everything in the world, life, job, grandbabies, that kind of thing. Yeah. Helped a friend out today. He's got some things going on in another state, and I had to do a little remote viewing to help him out. But thankfully, we kind of hit the nail on the head with some things, and that helped. Just trying to help out a friend, and was able to get him some information he needed. I like doing that as well. It's the whole reason why I got into the paranormal to begin with, right? You get into it to help other people. But so that's kind of it. Just kind of trying to gear things. Guys, just to let you know and remind you, we are simulcast on 2 different networks as well. They're listed on the outro or the end of the show and the credits. If you want to go visit through them, you can. Please do. We will be taking a siesta.
Yes.
Every show has a point where they've got to build up and bring you some new material. So that's what we're going to do for the month of May. We're going to step off for a little bit and regroup and try to find a way to bring you some more fun or exciting stuff. We're thinking about, and you can tell us how you feel about it. I'll just kind of put it out there. I'm thinking kind of like inviting teams into the show, and we're going to talk to them about their methodologies and things like that, to kind of share the wealth of information with all the groups and everybody here that watches the show. And you get a chance to talk about and brag on your teams or yourselves if you want to, locations you've done. So we're going to start looking in the direction of that, but we will be taking the month of May off. Please don't forget about us. Please continue to love us, because we love you all too. I will try my best to not throw up. But I'll
Please
try
don't.
my best to it's all true stories. I'll do my best to try to put up some shows that we've done previously to kind of keep the Sunday night filled. If I can do that, and we will go from there. In that other time, and that time off that we're having between seasons, we're going to go ahead and try to gather, like I said, some new things to bring to you, some new ideas. Again, if you've got them, we'd love to hear them. We say that just about every show, but we would love to be able to hear from you what you would like to see.
Yeah.
And also, too, again, let us know how you feel about the idea of inviting, active teams on the show. We're going to invite people who are out there investigating and who are putting it down and, boots on the road, that kind of thing. And just kind of see where things are shaking in the paranormal world right now. There's a lot of drama, going on. And I think it's kind of quelled now a little bit, kind of settled down somewhat, which I'm glad. But I would like to kind of get into celebrating, successful teams that have put themselves together and, kind of brought it out there. So, for those of you looking at joining teams, start a team, whatever, that maybe that'll help. But again, we're open to ideas. So once again, bring it to us if you want to. But again, we will be taking the month of May off. So
Yes,
we'll miss you. But we need to do something and kind of regroup and maybe bring you something better and different, or at least different. Hopefully.
and the thing is, guys, is what, we're not leaving you forever, but we need to take some time. We got some things going on, and it's a time for us to be able to hear from you. We'd love to hear some of the crazy stories that you guys have had too. We're welcome to listening to you, bringing you on the show and hearing your stories and hearing experiences that you've had. We're also looking to bring some more celebrities onto the show. We've got some ideas out there. So it's all in the works. It's all positive. And so, please bear with us. And we will be back.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate that. Yeah. What Katie said, hang with us. Tonight, we kind of wanted to bring you something a little different. We've kind of talked around or through some things regarding being a psychic medium and or impressions of even being an empath. The impressions that we get from people, kind of what they mean as well. I know, some people have been able to describe some of the impressions they get as we become more matured in our abilities. We can understand them better. We can understand the download, as I call it, or the message better that we're getting, and what all the little intricacies mean. But a lot of people don't. So I mean, what for you is some of the top things that you get, Katie, when you're reading somebody? What is some of your top impressions? Is there anything that kind of stays kind of steadfast? Kind of like, with me, it's kind of the snapping of fingers means you won fast. That kind of thing. That's kind of generic.
Yeah.
With certain things. So what kind of generic stuff do you got?
So some of the generic things that I get is shiny a tooth. So when I see a tooth, it can mean one of two things. It can mean that you literally have issues with your teeth, or you need to get to the root of the problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's something I get a lot. When I see a beer bottle or a beer can, that doesn't necessarily mean alcohol. That can mean that you're not dividing your time evenly. You're either partying too much and you're not taking time seriously, or you need to relax a little bit. So it's really kind of interpretation for the person. When I receive, something I receive in terms of people, not necessarily a psychic impression,
right.
but even messages from the other side, I get the same thing from so many spirits, that it was a quick exchange, that you do have a choice to cross over, that, there's no fiery pits of hell. There's so many things that I get on a consistent basis that I've really kind of formed an opinion that, it's not necessarily what television says it is. We always go to the worst case scenario, and it doesn't always have to be that way.
Yeah. And I kind of get, similarly, like for me, it's like I said, the snapping of fingers usually means that person went quick. I will also once in a while, I will see a field of flowers. Mm-hmm. And that to me is always symbolized as somebody like to garden, somebody like to, to work around plant life and flowers, things like that. I also see a lot of cooking instruments, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me the usual signal. Somebody like to cook. Yeah, it's just weird things. I think it's interesting that everybody seems to be completely different with that. I don't think any of us really have a whole lot of the same impressions that we get from from Departed. But I think there's so many of them that we really can't. And unlike you, I'm sure I get the ones that are they're just. How in the world would I have known that? What the hell does that mean?
Yeah. Yep. So when I receive a download, when I receive information from spirit or from a psychic impression, if I don't understand something, I will, ask for it again. I will ask for another version of it. I will ask for a clarification of it. I will ask them to, show me something else or give me another sign. And 10 of the 10 times I'll get it. I'll finally get it. But quick story. I was reading a lady years ago, and her deceased father came. And he was trying to explain to me that he's with her. And he kept showing me that he was outside like this, staring at a window, in a window pane like this. He kept showing me this image. And so I'm explaining it to her.
Yeah.
And she's kind of giving me a look. And then he kept showing me eaves troughs and this and eaves troughs and this. And I'm thinking, what on earth? Why is he trying to explain this to me? Like, what does that mean? And I said to her, do you have something wrong with your eaves troughs? Like, is there something wrong? And she's looking at me. She said, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, then it hit me. He was trying to say to me that he's not eavesdropping on her, but the closest image he could give to me was eaves troughs. So similar, but not the same. And once I was able to get it, I got the psychic impression of like, oh my God, lady, finally, like you're pretty dense. It took me some charades to get you to buy the vowel type thing.
Yeah.
But it's those types of things that sometimes, I can guess and guess and guess, and finally I understand what they're trying to say to me.
Well, it's and I'm real big when I actually read someone. I try to my best to try to get what I call confirmation signs, things that how in God's name would I have known that? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that came from the Departed to be able to show them, hey, this is confirmation that this is a legit reading, and I'm actually here and I'm trying to talk to you. And I love getting those impressions, and sometimes they kind of throw me a curveball because I don't really understand them. I don't understand them. The person I'm delivering the message to understands them. I just don't. And hey, Anthony. So for me, hey, honey. It was my wife that just popped in. Anyway, so for me, it's kind of weird. I had one reading I did. I mentioned on a show a couple of times where this woman, her son who passed came to me, and she was kind of skeptical about all of it, and she was like, and he was like, ask her why she doesn't like bananas. What? Okay. So I said, what's your problem with bananas? And she fell apart. That was a connection route. That was just the thing that kind of connected her to understand, oh, okay, this is no joke. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
And for somebody else I read one time, I got a picture. Yeah, we get once in a while. I think you also are like that. You get the little snapshots in your head.
Yep.
And I got one of a rodeo belt buckle.
Okay.
It was kind of odd. It had trees and it had a horseman on a horse standing on top of a plain, a hilly plain, I'm like, I'm just getting this. And then that lady just lost it. Oh my God, I can't believe that's my grandfather's belt buckle. He won that in a rodeo. And, so for me, the impressions sometimes are a little bit different than and I have not different so much, but sometimes they're at a point where I just don't get it, but I got to get rid of it. So I can't say it and go, does this make sense to you in any way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's just weird. I don't know. There's always the generics though. I do see the generics a lot. Like I said, I will even sometimes I will get a generic profile of what somebody is like as a personality. Like I would get, this person was a jokester. They were heavy set. They liked to drink a lot of beer. I mean, I would get those kind of breakdowns, and it would finally come together with a picture of someone that belonged to them and their family. But just it's kind of hard sometimes. They're not quite as easy as people think they are they?
No, I think that it's really deciphering. And I think as a psychic, getting better with your gifts, understanding the download better, becoming clear in the things that you're receiving, it starts to make more sense. And then you become more confident. The only reason I know I'm good at what I do without sounding arrogant is because people validate it for me. 90% of messages from the other side is really validation. They don't have big epic messages. Sometimes they have warnings, but for the most part, they're trying to give me and you something that nobody could possibly ever get on the internet. Nobody could, it's a personal validation, affirmation that this is in fact who you're talking to. And it's at that point that when you open that individual up that you're reading, that's when the rest of the information flows. Because let's face it, when you go to a reading, you're apprehensive, right? And you're skeptical, and you should be skeptical. Right. I tell everybody, you should be skeptical going to a psychic because they need to prove their value, prove their worth. So once you're able to receive that download, there's no possible way you could make it up. There's no possible way that you could find that. That's when the individual opens and the download comes bigger and you're able to read that much more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. Anthony said, when you're reading someone, how does spirit show or tell you about family secrets? Ooh. I'll let you go ahead and answer that one. I want to have a backup answer for you.
Well, let me tell you, I have outed affairs. I have outed children, secret children. I have outed, there was one scenario where there was a determination, that said Godfather was actually biological father, and they thought it was Godfather through the whole life. There's been many scenarios where because I don't know the person I'm reading, I've been able to out a lot of things. So yes, sometimes they will give me secrets. And you have to remember, when you pass away, if you cross over, the things that were important to you on this side of the earth plane are not. They are absolutely not as important on the other side. And so they'll be telling things that they say in humor and levity that may be stressful on this side. On a psychic impression, learn, whether it's not a spirit, whether I'm actually getting an affair, I will get an image of two people in an intimate setting, or I will get, phone calls I'll see phone calls, forbidden phone calls. And so it's not my job to judge the information that I'm receiving. It's my job to relay the information. So I have been known to out a few things.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing. I was dealing one time, we were filming somewhere with our shows a number of years ago, and I had a skeptic, very serious. I don't believe it, you psychic. And he was constantly looking at his phone. And I had this older lady come forward, and she said, "Tell him to find the woman the right way." And I'm like, "Oh, what?" And tell him to not do it on his phone. That's the wrong place. So I said, "Do you have an older lady that passed?" And I got a name of Gertrude. And he went, yeah, Grandma Gertie. I'm like, yeah. She's telling me to tell you, get off your phone, find a woman that's not the right place to find them. And he went, "You're crazy." I'm like, dude, I'm telling you. He then literally spun his phone around and he was on dating site. And I'm like, so yeah, Grandma's telling me to tell you, got it out. So yeah, I mean, honestly, Anthony, the thing of it is that sometimes I'll get information and I'll ask if it's in a group of more than one. I'll say, do you want the straight up? Do you mind if I ask a personal question? Do you mind if I make a personal step? We have to protect the person we're trying to read, but no, it's like Kitty said, the stuff on people on the other side, the stuff that matters here a lot does not matter a damn on the other side. They don't. It just doesn't faze them at all. But yeah, I've had that. I've had, spirits telling people's kids. I've had a lot of it. You've got to go through and kind of pick along and learn what you want to bring up and what you don't. Lauren, good to have you with us, Lauren. I think this is your first time on the show. Welcome. She said, "Do either of you get a reading from someone that is watching one of our lives?" Yeah. I mean, I think I've had a couple of instances where we have. I'll tell you what's funny though is hasn't been happening as much lately, if at all. But we literally had EVP communications happening during our show, either on Katie's side or on my side. So it seems to me that we're not alone. We've got company watching the show over our shoulder. But we've had EVPs said while we've done the show that viewers have picked out and literally sent me, at this time, you've got voices in the room and you're alone. I mean, I was living alone at the time when we had a lot of that going on. And, it's just kind of one of those things where it was on my side and there was somebody else in the room with me. But yeah, we do. And honestly, until someone, really reaches out to us from the show saying, hey, can I bug you for a reading? Can I get a reading from you? Got something going on? We're not going to jump in and go, oh, okay. So while we were doing the show, we got this about you. No, but yeah, it just kind of comes naturally because, you don't have to be alone in a room with a person to be able to get a reading from. I'm like, hey, we can remote read. We can get energy from just about anything. But thanks for the question. That's a really good question. I appreciate it.
And, hey, Brian, and, I got to kind of mention too, Lauren.
Hey, Brian.
It's not something you have to understand that we don't violate people. Like, I'm not going to just openly read. It takes permission. If I saw a car accident and I saw something really bad, then absolutely, if I can warn or I can help somebody, but I don't just go into somebody's brain or get into their energy field without permission. So really, as Richard said, we don't like look at the clients or look at the viewers and go, oh, let's read this person. It really comes down to permission. Richard doesn't read without permission. I don't read without permission. When you contact us for a reading, then of course, yes, there's permission. But usually it's the individual contacting us. We don't, like Richard, there's been scenarios where we've done missing person cases together, or we've done, murder cases and stuff like that, where, it wasn't necessarily the family that contacted us, but it was outsiders that were doing investigative work for it that contacted us. So in a roundabout way, we're getting permission. If I was to walk to a location or if I was to go into a grocery store and I saw something horrifically happen, then I would definitely say something. Today, in fact, I went to the barn to ride my horse and I had a weird feeling. And I got on my horse and we were in the indoor arena. It was raining, so we were riding in the arena. And I just had this apprehensive feeling. And I thought, am I nervous? Like, what's going on? And the horses did a little bit of a spook, and I wrote it out, and I was okay. I thought, oh, maybe that's just it. And I'm not normally an apprehensive rider. I'm not nervous. And something, I don't know what it was. I heard a voice. A voice said, Katie, you need to get off now. And I thought, okay, that's my fear. And I heard it again, Katie, you need to get off your horse now. And so I said, okay. And I literally dismounted. I got off. And my friend came along, her name's Katie too, and she rode up and she said, like, what's going on? And I said, I don't know. I was told to get off. I need to get off. And she said, do I need to get off? And I said, I don't know. I just said, Katie, you need to get off. So we're both Katie. So how do we? And so all of a sudden we heard a horse whinny, and she said, no, I'm going to get off. And so as soon as she dismounted, her feet didn't even touch the ground yet. There was a herd of horses that went galloping across the indoor arena, and that would have been a very bad scene. For both of us. And so, it's really talking about paying attention to your instincts. I couldn't, I'm trying to protect her, but at the same time, sometimes it's not clear as to who the information is for or who the warning's for. I'm glad that she kind of listened to the warning and got off as well. But I mean, who's to say what would have happened, right? So it kind of comes down to the environment and the situation that you're in.
Yeah, no, very true. Very true. Anthony said, when you shock them about something no one knows about, for I find out with my gifts also. Yeah, sometimes, to be absolutely transparent, sometimes I use a lot of that for confirmation because, it's one of those things where they turn to you and go, how the hell did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that's really what I want. I don't want to say something that's designed just to shock you. I want to say something I'm getting from a person who's passed along so you understand this is legit.
Exactly.
Because no offense, we've got people who are psychic mediums now that have multiplied by the thousands over the last 5 years. Same thing with, demonologists and everything else. And
Mhm.
there's a couple of ways to be able to get through and decipher who's legit and who isn't. But when you have somebody that comes up and tells you something while you're asking them to read them, or or hey, do you mind if I just ask you a question about this, and then you deliver the message, they go, how in the hell did you know that? It's that's just kind of my way of getting their attention.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah. And you know what, guys, at the same time too, it's not our job to judge the information or convince you. I'm not here to convince anybody. I stay steadfast to what I see and what I feel. I've learned not to question myself. I've learned to pay attention to my instincts. And it's situations like I just told you with my horse, that I've learned to stick to my gut and go, okay, yes, there is something there. I mean, I think part of the problem with a lot of people when they receive downloads is that they question it. They put the human aspect out of it. And instead of questioning it, just, it's above my pay grade to judge it or question it, just do it. And it's after I speak what I have to say, or it sounds completely chaos, or should not make any sense. It makes sense to that individual, and so that's really what's important. It doesn't have to make sense to me. It has to make sense to the person that I'm reading.
Right. Brian said I expend a lot of energy blocking a read. Your business isn't my business, right? We don't because there are some people, I will say, and then you can, give me your 2 cents on it, Kitty. But there are some people you just can't help reading. You can't help getting something from because they're so open metaphysically that it's like, God, please shut your doors. Shut your doors. My God, shut your doors. And to me, that's just kind of, I get a lot of that from other people. Like, that's one of the reasons why I don't like to do a ton of crowds. Because holy crap. Yeah, it is not, it'll wear you out. But some people, right, messages come to us for a person finds us. Exactly. I mean, our job as psychic mediums is to take the download, deliver the message that's needed to be delivered, and then, and then move on from there. I've known of people that when they didn't utilize them or deliver the message and they didn't utilize their gifts, they literally had mental health issues over it.
Mm-hmm.
So, some may say that's what's wrong with me. I don't know. So Herbie says, what is the difference between a spirit animal and a spirit guide? Aren't they both in the same?
No.
And I think
short answer, no, but long answer.
Yeah. I think what we're looking at here is spirit animal is kind of a design of how you live your life, what your energy, what your spirit kind of resembles. How you operate in your day-to-day, how you operate with people, how you tackle things in life is be kind of your spirit guide, or spirit animal, or rather spirit guide. Those are things that are assigned to you, but what I call the metaphysical connection, that they're connected to you to do a job. They're connected to you to perform tasks for protection, to help you work through life. When a job's done, they move on. You might get another. People are all different, but that's where I see the difference here. Your spirit animal is something that is kind of a representation of your actual spirit and what represents you in the spirit world. What do you think about that, Katie?
I agree. Absolutely. I think there's a collective energy. So, spirit guides are individuals, there's souls that are done reincarnating, so they don't come back as humans anymore. They're finished that on this side of the earth realm, and they actually work with us along our lives. So they're assigned to us when we do our soul contracts before we do our ascension. They are assigned to us that they work with us and counsel us. Okay. Right. And basically what they do is they can guide us on our paths. Animal guides are a little bit different because they're more of, like Richard said, a collective energy. They're their, interpretation of energy, not so much guiding us the same way. A lot of times they represent emotions that we're feeling. But the spirit guide is a person, and there's multiple. We do have multiple throughout our lives that come, and they basically, as I said, guide us on their path. They cannot come in and change things unless we ask them. They can't manipulate. They can ask for miracles and stuff like that, but that's where they would go to an angel to be able to ask for that miracle. So it's all about guiding and the universal energy of what we're collecting as we're here in the learning process.
Right. Exactly. Nadine said, have you had communications where you're unable to understand? Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And I will tell you that happens most oftentimes when you're in a crowded setting. I get that problem because here's kind of how to look at it. There's on average 3 to 5 as a good guesstimate, 3 to 5 dead people with you on average. Now let's multiply that and say you got a room of 25. And now we're multiplying that by 325. So you're talking about somewhere anywhere between 75 and 125 spirits,
right,
in a room. So that gets a little confusing. But there have been times even on a one-on-one, the messages I was getting were it was so weird or so off or just didn't make sense. And the person didn't get it either until they went back and researched what I told them to research. It's kind of one of those things. And I've watched Katie do live reads. We've done a few on the show for the show viewerships personally, one-on-one. Katie and I have, and that's something that she utilizes as an understanding point, is that you may have to research that and see where it might come into play. And again, whatever we tell you may happen now, may happen 3 minutes from now, might happen a year from now. You just never know, but it's going to happen. Yeah. It's in the
I always tell people to absorb the information I give you. Don't judge it right away. If it doesn't make sense to you now, it should in time. But to go back to the understanding of communication, I have one of my favorite things to do is when I'm reading somebody and somebody comes in with a different language, and I am trying to relate it in a different language, the words that I'm speaking. But the coolest part is when the person I'm reading understands the language. And I don't even know what it means, but I'm able to give them. So it's really kind of specific. I've done things. I've received downloads in Ojibwe. I've received downloads in Chinese. I've received downloads in, oh my goodness, German, Arabic, many different words. So it's kind of cool because, it just goes to show that we are the messengers. We're not there to judge it, right?
Right. Lauren said, my sister who lives in a different state had a reading. The lady that read her said, my parents are in the room and they wanted her to know that they are with me and know I say goodnight to them every night. Very cool.
So cool.
Very cool. Here's a catch-22 though. As long as you are fully confident in whom you're dealing with is a loved one, there's no problem with monologue.
Right.
Okay. There is a huge problem always with dialogue, but there is no problem at all with monologue. So you walking through saying, good night, guys. I love you. Hey, good morning. See you later. Nothing wrong with that at all. So again, in case you are actually dealing with more than just your loved one, they don't see an open door communication. Right. You're not looking for an answer.
Right.
So, yeah, I would fully support that, except for just make sure it's a monologue, not a dialogue. Don't leave it open-ended in any way. That's just my belief. Well, we get a lot of people coming in with stuff, so that's good.
That's great. That's great. So let's move it even further. Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, let's move it even further forward to talking about haunted locations and using psychic abilities, and whether knowing, how would you determine a location is haunted? How would you determine? Is there a stereotypical way other than the obvious poltergeist activity and things slamming and seeing apparitions? But in terms of psychic impressions, how do you know a place is haunted?
I tell you what I do with our team, because I'm blessed to have so many people with abilities on my team. I will do individual walkthroughs. Don't tell me. Don't want to know. Write it down. In this area here by the closet door, I got a male voice. This over here, I got this. This is a circle of energy right here in this room. This is what I got. And individually have other people go through and see if the reading matches up. Because there's times when you're surrounded by energy, and I believe this does happen to a lot of psychic meetings, after a while of being saturated in paranormal energy, you get saturated with paranormal energy. So sometimes, to me, I think it's important that you have more than one person do a walkthrough, even if they're not a psychic medium and they're a sensitive. When you walk through the building, tell me where you feel uneasy. Tell me what you feel when you go into each and every one of the rooms. Tell me
Right.
how that goes for you. And then compare the notes before you begin. I think you'll find it's pretty cool. But I utilize everybody with abilities on my team for something like that, just to make sure it's not a bad impression or a bad feel or anything else. I think it's pretty cool. How do you do it?
Agreed. I go in and I try to go in blind. So, we have different members on my team that when we go to a haunted location, or say somebody contacts me, even without an investigation, they want me to do a cleansing, or they're getting bad feelings, or getting sick in their home. I'll ask them, please don't tell me any information. The bare minimum is I want to be as ambiguous as possible so that I can go in and do my job. And basically what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll take my impressions, my own psychic impressions as to what I feel, sense, hear, and see. And it's after that if the person wants an investigation, then I'll go ahead and do it. But for the most part, if I need to do a cleansing or I validate it for the person, that puts that person's mind at ease. I mean, you don't have to be a quote unquote psychic medium to determine whether a house is haunted. Not, many locations have spirits in them. Okay. And let's kind of clarify a little bit between a haunting and spirit connection. So, as a ghost and a spirit are two separate things, and a lot of people don't understand that. They don't look at it that way. And I break them down into two separate things, and we talked about this before. But spirits are entities that have died and have crossed over. They've transitioned to the other side. A ghost is an entity that stays and chooses to remain in that soul or that personality in which they died in. So if I died as Katie and I didn't transition over, I'm only going to remember Katie's thoughts. And you may be there for 500 years, but that's all you're remembering is that person that you were as Katie. So that's a true haunting, because you're dealing with somebody who is, in the same home as you, same location as you, that is possessive about the location, that is either wanting you out or maybe wants to make contact with you, but they're really not your loved ones or spirits that are coming to visit. Yes, your spirits will make their presence known. They will show you things, but they're not going to do the same lower vibration things that you're going to get in a typical haunting. Most of the time in a typical haunting, they want you out. They're possessive about the location, or they're trying to get your attention.
Yeah. Anthony made a statement: the best ones to read are the ones that block us. I'd agree with that to a point. I think because I've had people who you're not going to get in my head. You're not going to get in my head. And I find ways to take a little piece here, take a little piece here, and open the door slowly. Take another piece, open the door slowly. I have to worry though once in a while because there's reasons why. I'm a firm believer in this, and I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, please, Katie or whoever, correct me. Your mind will only allow you to accept what it feels you can.
Right.
Okay.
Agreed.
So that is the reason why I believe a lot of people don't have seeing ability to be able to see an apparition, see an entity or an energy move through a building right in front of their face, because their brain doesn't think they're capable of accepting that. That's not a knock on anybody. That's not a weak point. There are a lot of people like that. I know a lot of people are able to do that, and they've got clairaudience out the wazoo.
Right.
But they're just not capable of being seers. So so sometimes you could do that, but you got to be careful. Where you go with it. Kimberly Smith Johnson. Well, welcome to the show. I don't think you've ever been on the show before either. My daughter passed away unexpectedly on Tuesday. I'm sorry to hear for your loss.
Yes, I'm very
and
sorry.
I heard someone say "mama" in the early morning hours before my alarm went off, and before I found out, and I was the only one in the house. Okay. First of all, again, let me apologize for your loss. Okay. That's rough. But the one thing I will tell you is, in my belief, entities that just passed, human entities that just passed, that is usually when they're at their strongest. And that is usually when they will appear or make themselves known to the loved ones they're attached to, their soul ties. because their energy dissipates as time goes along. Whereas on the opposite end of the spectrum, a negative energy spirit grows stronger with age. A human entity, okay, a regular person who passes, their energy dissipates with age. Kind of like a battery. That's kind of how I look at it. There's a positive and a negative, and the negative grows stronger over time. And that's, and first of all, let me just say congratulations, you had that happen.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's kind of like a final. It's kind of like a final word kind of thing, and you got to take it for what it's worth. Okay, she took the effort and the time and the energy to make that communication to you, most likely as a sign of comfort, to let you know she's okay. All right, that's my belief on it. And again, I'm sorry to hear your loss, but and she's one of the few people that automatically I begin to get energy and readings from the minute I hear her name. Yeah, but I'll just go ahead and say it. All right, look, what I get is that she's in a really good place now. Okay, she's a little confused because it's all new, it's all weird. The thing that we have to remember is for the other side is when this goes down and it happens, it's kind of like you on Demerol at first. You're a little confused, you're a little out of it of sorts. You don't really know what's going on. Eventually, you learn the ropes. Eventually, you learn how to navigate through. But the first thing you want to do is reach out to someone you love, someone you care about, and just again to let them know you're okay, because it's important to them to make sure they get to you. But yeah, but again, congratulations on that communication, and you know. I'm glad you're able to get the chance to hear it.
And something else too, we should add, Richard, that in a lot of the readings that we do when we connect with spirit, a lot of them tell us that they never die alone. They don't die alone. Someone always comes for them. And in a lot of catastrophic events, they don't feel the pain. They're removed from that pain. So it's good to know that they're not only in a better place, but they're not in any pain, or they didn't experience the pain the way we think they would.
Yeah. Nikki said, do you find that there are just some folks that can never be satisfied and will simply deny stuff to get attention or be a jackwagon? How do you handle those kind? I turn around and say, thank you for your time, and I walk away. If you don't want to open up maturely enough to be able to accept a message from someone, I don't need to waste my energy on you. I just don't. Honestly, I will tell you that has come with some time and maturity on this earth, because back in the day when I first started having these abilities become more apparent, my first thought, again, like a lot of people, was, yeah, help. You got to understand. You got to be convinced that no, sometimes people just don't need to hear it, don't want to hear it, can't accept it, don't know how to feed it. So you got to say, you know what? Thank you very much. Take care. Have a good day. Walk away. You can't fight it, because all you're doing at that point is expending more energy you just don't need to expend.
Right.
Well,
again, it's not our job to convince you. It's really not our job. And there are people out there that want to, they try very hard to prove you otherwise, I guess.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that those are low vibrational people, and most of the time it's because they don't understand. You don't see me. I don't have a headband on. I don't say call me now. I don't have a big crystal ball. I'm not, the stereotypical. This is what a lot of the skeptics are kind of feel that they're seeing. And it's once they get to know me and realize I'm just a normal person, Richard, we're just normal people that are able to kind of read the information we're given, then they're not so apprehensive. Again, going into a reading, it's good to be skeptical. The person needs to earn their worth. A couple of disclosures. Number one, I will never contact you for a reading. So I feel sorry for people. I've had some fake pages come up and people try to mimic things or fake things. A psychic's never going to contact you for a reading. So if you're getting messages on Instagram, on Facebook, on, with these affirmations and things that they want to tell you that sound pretty good, I'm telling you, they're not out to read you. They're out for your money. Okay.
Yeah.
Another thing too is I always try to tell people I don't take payment until I know you're happy with it, until I know you think I'm worthy of payment. I don't like it
Right.
to be about money. So when people walk into a reading with me, I hope that that puts their mind at ease. I want them to focus on opening themselves up so that I can get in and do my job. And that does put their mind at ease, but you still do get those people that, you know, they just want to make your life hell. And I have learned to have thick skin with that.
Yeah. You got it. You really have to. It's unfortunate, but you really have to.
Yep.
Anthony said, what spirit animal do you see the most? Spirit guides can also be able to speak to spirit that do not want to speak to us. I will tell you, I have been in several instances where spirits are talking to each other. Even one I heard warning another spirit to leave somebody alone.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I believe in that completely. Spirit animal I see the most. When I see people, unfortunately, a lot of times I see nothing but the aggressive style.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen wolves. I've seen bears. And it's really just kind of how they live their life that represents that energy. So that's what I've seen.
Yeah, agreed. I see a
I
lot of
love-
cats, stuff like that.
yeah,
Now, I have seen this, a spirit animal is a guide per se is different than a spirit pet. Let's make that clear. So I read people and I read animals. I
right,
can see spirits and I can see spirit animals.
right.
They're pets. It's
Yeah,
not, you know, Richard's explaining two different things, right? So you know, it's if you're asking about kind of the guide aspect, the spirit animal guide versus the pet, then yeah, it's two separate things.
yeah, it is. Now, Adam says, why do you think that the level of people with abilities has risen in the last 5 years? I will give you my trucker 2 cent version of this answer. Number one, it's become more mainstream. Number one. Number two, I said that earlier as an ideal of being sarcastic. The number has risen, but a lot of it's. I'm not really going to say fakery. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say it's fraudulism. But what I'm going to say is, you might be sensitive does not make you a psychic medium. Being sensitive is a different ability. But there are a couple of people I know that are sensitive that classify themselves as psychic mediums. They're not. Does that make sense? Plus, for me also too, is as a rule that 68% of everyone has latent abilities. So when you come out and you watch these shows or you see this stuff going on, and you know, it allows you to open yourself up to the interpretation of what your abilities might be. I think. What do you think, Katie?
Oh, agreed. I think that conscious awareness is a huge thing, as you said. You know, opening the doors of communication and understanding. We have the World Wide Web. We have people who are working on opening up and their consciousness. So we'll take it back down to your vehicle. Think of your car. If you have a car, a truck, or you know something that you owned. That you use every day. Now think about how many of those vehicles or items that you own, bicycle, motorcycle, truck, whatever, that you owned before. You think of how many you noticed before you bought it. Now think about after the purchase, how many of those same vehicles, color, make, model you noticed. It's a conscious awareness, and I think that spiritually we have evolved as a collective. We have heightened our vibrational frequency, and that's why we're more spiritually aware. I think the fact that we feel more open to communicating about it, there's podcasts like this, it's become that mainstream, as Richard has said, has really helped us to heighten the vibration and become more sensitive.
Yeah. And Anthony, I'm not sure what the question is. Yes, you know the feeling. That feeling. I'm not sure what question you're talking about. If you're talking about the spirit animal thing where I'm able to see what seems to be a spirit animal of a person with a certain behavior or energy, yeah, I do know that feeling. It doesn't happen all the time, but I do know it. Let me see here. Oof. All right. Then the ones that even if you're spot on will deny it and nothing will convince them. Okay. All right. So we're kind of getting in, for me, some familiar territory. At a certain point, if you're telling someone, they're giving someone a message and it's spot on, and you know it's spot on by their body reaction, their body movements, their body language will give anything away, and they continue to deny it, walk away. You can't force people to accept things. You can't force people to accept, yes, the dead do speak to people. Yes, the dead do approach people. Yes, you can't force people to understand that.
Right.
You just can't. So to think that you can is going to, again, be wasting a whole lot of energy. Lauren said being an intuitive is similar in a way. I can be in a room and I can pick up other energies. Absolutely. I do something called mapping when I'm on an investigation. I can close my eyes and I can literally point to where the energies are in the room. I call it mapping. And, usually if we'll have people stand in each one of those rooms, parts of the room, or in that particular room, we'll gather evidence in that area. We'll gather evidence. Now, reason why I say, well, why wouldn't you gather evidence in there with just one person in the middle of the room? Let me explain to you what I've experienced. I have experienced entities being able to communicate to who and what recorder they want to speak to. Right. I've had that. I've caught that. So I've had two people in the same exact room, and I've had a spirit class A answer a question on this person's recorder and capture a squat on that one right down the road from 3 or 4 feet. Amazing. So I think aces in your places is what I call it. Aces in your places. So wherever you feel, if you have a psychic medium, if you are a psychic medium, wherever you feel the energy is at and most operative, that's where you need to put a person. And I think that'll help you along the way. So, yeah, I mean, it's being an intuitive is great. It could also be tiresome.
Agreed.
All right, so let me see. Anywhere around water. Everything is around water. So everything has to do with water. Nikki says, those out of the way, off the grid places have provided some of the most fascinating interactions. Let me tell you, Nikki, where I have, and I want Katie to answer this because she's in a different part of the world. I will tell you where I caught my best evidence. The road less traveled. The road less traveled. Because they're not used to you going through every weekend. There's a new set of people going through every weekend. Oh, here they come again. Oh, my God. The ghost hunter people come again. Oh, my God. And you got to wonder after a certain amount of time of being pummeled by people with recorders and digits and gadgets and everything else, some stupid mouths, like, to provoke them. How a spirit is actually this one. Oh, here we go. You got to know they're saying that, all right? Whereas when you go to a place that has never really been investigated or very rarely ever been investigated, that opened Pandora's box, because for me, they have an opportunity to communicate where no one has probably ever heard them before. So I'm with you on that one. I would prefer to have the road less traveled. What do you think, Katie?
Agreed. Yeah, and I think it doesn't have to be a stereotypical location. It doesn't have to be the rickety haunted house. It doesn't have to be some of the most haunted, active locations are the ones that you would never assume. You would never ever assume. You would think something like a mortuary would be more haunted than a school. And sometimes you go to these old schoolhouses and you can not only pick up the residual energy of the children, but you can actually, communicate with ones that have passed away. Like it really comes down to your energy walking into a location. I am a firm believer that everything is haunted. I really am. I feel like there's energy everywhere. Now, some places may have your stereotypical spirits, but I am a believer that, everything has energy. So there's high intense locations such as war memorials, places where war happened, or catastrophic events, plane crashes, car accidents, accident sites, stuff like that is going to produce a heck of a lot of more energy. But that doesn't mean it's not haunted. It doesn't mean it's not a haunted location. I was a realtor, so I worked in the real estate business for many years, and not only as a visitor going in and looking at houses, but showing homes or sending people to homes. There was a lot of haunted locations. There was a lot of activity. There were some homes that I walked into that I had to shake off, or I didn't want to be in there. Even searching my own home, looking for my own home, it was the same situation. I saw a lot of locations, and they weren't stereotypical. They looked beautiful from the outside, but the energy on the inside is what caused the damage.
Yeah, true. Herbie says, I believe that sometimes a place can be haunted because of the thing I call the soup. In other words, you need the right ingredients, the family, the house. Mm-hmm. That's why some places are haunted, but the other family that moves in has no reaction. Absolutely right. The one thing I will tell you, if a family moves into a home that's already primed, what I call groomed for paranormal activity, and you move an adolescent female in there, oh, baby. That is some interesting stuff right there. Some really interesting stuff. But you're right. Brian said, pro tip, if there's a lot of blood dripping from a mirror, you most likely have a haunting. Right.
Yes, I would suggest you not taking your shoes off.
Right. All right. So then Lauren said, an intuitive can also pick on the energy of the house. When my husband and I did house hunting, I would get an energy from the house. If the feel I got was something wasn't right with the house, I would tell my husband and we would leave right away. Oh, yeah. Makes total sense. One thing I will tell you I've noticed over the years, too, is eventually, and this may go along with the whole stone tape theory, but houses have their own energies.
Absolutely, yeah.
Houses have their own energies. If a person's house does not blend with their energy, it's not going to work out. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with who might be there. It has a lot to do with just the house itself. The older the home, the more the history, the more the energy is trapped. Again, stone tape theory, especially here in the southeast United States, where the majority of the grounds are built up of limestone and quartz. You're going to have it. But yeah, I'm a firm believer that houses can have their own energy. Yep. Absolute. All right. So Herbie says, can someone remove a spirit if it is a residual haunting of, say, 100 years or more, a castle haunting type thing?
That's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. The problem with it being, what makes it tough is there's no interaction, right? So there's no reaction to whatever cleansing method you use. So with that, you would have to do something to change the essence of the place itself to break that. That's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, it's kind of like getting rid of a PK manifestation of poltergeist, all right? It's super hard only because it's driven and derived from a living being. And what if that living being is still in the house? Mm-hmm. That means that poltergeist is going to carry on until the essence of that person changes.
But it goes even further. It could be residual or intelligent hauntings with something you bring into the home. So you think of a haunted location, think of a catastrophic event. Let's take Gettysburg. And there's many homes in Gettysburg as an example. And so throughout the years, furniture got sold, taken to antique shops, given away, handed down, and that eventually ended up in consignment stores or garage sales, and people purchase them. Do you think because it was moved away from the location that the energy is not absorbed into that object? No. The energy can be the same amount. It can still, it may dissipate a little bit, but it can still be there, whether it's intelligent or residual. Residual meaning a replay in time. So really, I mean, there's events that occurred that are all over the world, essentially, that started in one location, but have been moved to a different location. And that can continue to haunt. So, be careful, because purchasing things, on a website or a used consignment store, Goodwill, Value Village, those types of things, yard selling, you don't know what you're getting. You absolutely don't know what you're getting. So I encourage everybody to cleanse what they have.
Yeah. Nikki says, sorry ahead of the time for this long question. She's apologizing.
We love your questions.
Nikki, we love your questions. All right. She says, so how can new investigators or folks just starting out best handle group hysteria during an investigation and not get caught up in the excitement? I've seen folks get so caught up in nothing. Not that I'm guilty either when I first started. Okay. Oh, well. So let me give you my piece of it, my trucker 2 cent version of it. My team, I tend to be a little militant. What I mean by that is that we have a hierarchy. You have to establish a hierarchy on your team. Okay, somebody at the end of the day has got to be responsible. Somebody at the end of the day has got to be the one that people look to. Okay, so with me, we had a very serious incident happen during a filming of a documentary we were in recently. And the first thing I did with the loudest voice I think I've raised in a long time, screamed, "Everybody out! Out!" I told cameramen, "Get out of my way, get out of the building, let's go." And it got everybody out of the building. And, I said, "Everybody grab a Coke, smoke them if you got them. Do not step in the building till you talk to me first." And I kind of get everybody, okay, all right. So we go, okay. And they all kind of calmed down. They were separated from the excitement. They're separated from it all. So even in a new team, even in a band of friends, I'm a firm believer that you got to have that one, for lack of a better expression, you got to have that one paranormal badass that is going to turn around and go, out. That is the fastest way to kill the hysteria. Everybody out. What do you think about that, Katie? Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Removing yourself from the situation. I'm really lucky. Honest to God, I'm lucky. You're lucky. I have a group of really great investigators that are humble, that understand me. I understand them. We're a family. So they're pretty down to earth and not a lot shakes them, but there have been scenarios where we've been spooked, and as you said, you got to remove yourself from the situation, take a breather. Don't be afraid to say that you're nervous. Don't be afraid to say you need a timeout. But it's important that we know each other. We know each other's personalities. It's sometimes the person's not even cognizant that their energy is shifting and they're changing their personalities. A lot of the times these guys are taken over and they don't realize they're being taken over. So it's important to watch each other and to really keep an eye so that if there is a personality change happening, and get out of the building, remove yourself for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Now this question comes up here. What does the sickness aura look like? To me, it's a shade of dark. And it gets to a point of black. It kind of goes from brownish to grayish, dark grayish to when you get to black, somebody's got something terminal going on, I think, most of the time. So if you can see and read the color, the energy colors, then that's kind of what you're looking at. Anything in the lighter colors, the vibrance, pinks, greens, blues communication, whatever you see in that realm, I've been told several times, mine's blue, mine stays blue. That's just the way it is. But that is what we call the sickness colors. The sickness aura is that shade of dark going from brown to black. Yeah.
I think too, we omit how big we omit. So I see auras, I see colors, and it depends on how vibrant they are. Auras are kind of like a mood ring that they shift a little bit. So, Richard is predominantly blue, but sometimes when people are going through depression or sadness, they're omitting that. Now, here's something really cool. Going into a hospital, for example, and seeing somebody's aura in a hospital, your mood, you can absorb somebody else's energy. So sometimes it's piggybacking and it's not even your aura. You're picking up, absorbing that energy of somebody else that's sick, and it sits on you. And that's where that empathic ability of becoming sick because somebody else is sick kind of comes onto you. So seeing auras is really good in the fact that to determine whether it's your energy or somebody else's.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Emery says, do you find people go from one psychic to another looking for readings but don't want to listen to what you tell them? Yeah. I also think some people go with the ideal that they might get more information. That's the last one they can give them. I'm not sure. I think it'd be really close, more leaning to the line of people just, they may just not. But again, why would you go to another one if you don't believe it? This is my personal opinion. Why would you go to another psychic if you didn't believe the first one? But to me, I think I've had it happen where people go, oh, well, I had talked to a psychic medium before, and they told me, this was going to happen and this was going to happen, but I just, and I would get something more, maybe I would get something different, maybe that's why some people will do it. Just personal
and
opinion.
people have addictive personalities. So when I do readings for people, I really try to tell people, 6 months is the minimum I will read you. You need to wait 6 months in between sessions, unless you have a crazy amount of specific questions that you want to know. If you want to dig deeper, then I'm willing to take the time with you. But for the most part, you got to give it some time. Some people become addicted to this stuff. Some people have that addictive personality and they go and go and go. I do encourage second opinions. I think it's imperative to get a second opinion like it is a doctor. Another psychic might be able to give you something that I can't give you, so it's good. But to go and to see another one and another one and another one and never kind of heeding the warnings or seeing the cautions that the psychics are trying to tell you might not be a good thing.
No. And you people are weird, right? People are weird. People are different. People are unsatisfied with life and they constantly want different answers. They constantly want this or they constantly want that. And it's okay. If somebody says, well, I talked to you 6 months ago and then I talked to another psychic medium and he told me about this. Well, okay, did it come true yet? No. Okay, well, then wait. Hopefully for you it comes true. Hopefully it does. Nikki says, how would you recenter or collect yourself during an intense investigation or reading? Is there a point that you will stop it altogether, even if it means losing contact with a possible, really fascinating encounter? Sorry, likely dumb question. Not a dumb question. There's no such thing in the paranormal as dumb questions. So,
yeah.
I have had points in investigations where I was getting readings from a building. Mm-hmm. I was being utilized as okay, so we're going to let you walk through first, Richard, and then the team's going to investigate, and we're going to try to correlate what you found versus what they got. Cool idea. Right. Great idea. Again, got into this building, and it was a seriously strong negative energy in there. And, I'm a firm believer that as some energies get stronger, it's because they've aged. And then their abilities become a little more flexible than what they are when they're brand new entities. Yeah. So I do something called a step away. I step away from the investigation. I go to my car and I have a list of music I will just listen to at full blast. And that resets me completely. And then I can go into whatever will break your mind away from what's going on. And for me, it's music. I'm a big music guy. I had a mixtape, so to speak, of on a thumb drive of all the music that I would listen to that got me in a mood to investigate, that got me out of a mood when I was in a bad one for an investigation or had a bad experience. Music is really, it soothes the savage beast, right? So music is really designed to be your separator from reality for a moment. Right. All right. For me, that's what it means. So that's what I do.
Yeah, for sure.
Brian said, I don't know my spirit animal, but whatever it is, it drinks heavily. There you go. Nikki says there are so many good things to do pre and post investigation. What can people do during an investigation or reading to help keep them centered? May have already been answered. Sorry, I'm a motor mouth and my dinner break is on my dinner.
I love your questions.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I will step away. I do that quite often. Step away, take a moment, meditate, chill out. When I used to smoke, I'd smoke. Whatever it was to break the brain pain and start from scratch for me. What do you think, Katie?
I think it's important to get in, if you're having a bad day before an investigation, as a psychic medium, I have to be humble. And not even as an investigative standpoint, but, even doing readings, I have to understand that I'm putting myself in a vulnerable position. So there's steps that I take necessary before an investigation, before a reading, to make sure that I am safe, to make sure that the client I'm reading is safe, or the location, that I'm trying to be as protected as possible. So doing prayers, doing, wearing certain protective things, having different types of oils, having different types of crystals, all of those things before going into a read or a location. But also staying centered during a location is not allowing your fear to overcome you. Okay. A lot of times this malevolent energy, this dark energy puts fear in you so that it can control you. So realizing that you're able to remain in control, not being reactive to a situation, not showing your fear is probably one of the best ways to get through it. Also, not being afraid to step away from the situation to keep yourself centered. There are times when I can't read. I have to reschedule sessions. I've had a bad day, or I've had a restless sleep, or I've, even going into a location, if you're sick, it's not worth it because you have, it labeled on your forehead and they will go to you because you're vulnerable. So, it's really about knowing what you can work with, knowing how you can keep yourself safe, and knowing when you're vulnerable.
Yeah, you're right. Harry says, where are the strongest spiritual connections, by water, bedrock, or electrical lines? I will say
all above.
Water. All the above, but I think out of all of them, for me, the most easily connected is water. I've stood on the banks of a place called Prater's Mill in Georgia and literally watched spirits of Cherokee walk into the river. I mean, the water is a conduit. So that's a lot of ways of travel for the spiritual realm. So I would think personally, yes, all three of those are good. But to me, I think the best connector is going to be water.
Yeah. I find you're going to notice that each one of those is the source of energy. Natural elements, so water, fire, the electrical would add, earthy tones, stuff like that. All of those are easy ways for them to be able to come through, and it has the thinning of the veil. So as you said, water, yes, absolutely. The electrical lines, yes, that would amp up the electromagnetic fields, and a lot of entities, that's what they use to manifest. They use to come through electromagnetic fields, or EMF. So in those scenarios, yes, you may see more activity, but on a natural center, the EMF is natural. I think you're going to get a bigger turnout.
Right. Yep. Brian said, we had spirits and locations know we were coming and happy about it. They also would tell others who try to be at the same place to get out in a class AVP because they want to be with us. Yeah. I think we have to all understand what that point is, that the consciousness is still there for a lot of the intelligent haunt. So when they get accustomed or comfortable, or like whatever, investigators that come to a building, we were to Octagon Hall, and walking through the door, coming into the dining room, there was a guy there that's one of the curators, and he had an SB7 box going. And when we came in, because we had just been there in October to film the documentary, now we're back in there again to do a live event. Literally out of the SB7, you hear, they're back. And that was kind of cool. We've been to the right hotel, and I've had the right hotel, say welcome back. And then one of the last times we were there, it said welcome home. Aww. So, you have that kind of relationship with the spirits, and that all goes back to intent. That all goes back to how you treat them. I treat them as if they're a person without a body. So I want to treat them with respect, as I'm sure you do, Ryan. I want to treat them with respect. I want to give them, praise for communicating with us, because that uses a lot of energy for them to do that. It's a gift. That's on my Facebook post. To say, even if it's just an EVP, it's still a gift. We need to enjoy that. And, so there would be those times that we've been, like I said, welcome back to the Octagon Hall. And that's kind of good to feel. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. And that just means you're doing it right. So congratulations, you had that ability, Ryan. That's good. Let me see here. Have you ever been at a place that walked indoors and be met by a guide and show you the active places? Met by one of our guides, or met by a spirit in the building? Met by an entity in the building. I had been walked through a building by an entity that was there, almost basically a resident entity that was kind of like, come over here, let me show you. Come over here, let me show you. Because they were proud, they were proud of it. it gets crazy in here. I've caught those kind of EVPs from spirits that have walked us through buildings. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I've had as well. What about you, Katie?
I have a scenario. Yes. So to answer your question, I have guides that are with me all the time. They work with me a lot. And I've had dead loved ones. My grandfather comes through in sticky situations. He's always with me. But when I'm starting to feel fear or I am in a vulnerable position, he will absolutely come through and tell me when I, get back or get out or whatever. There was a scenario a couple of years ago where I was in a mental hospital for an investigation. I wasn't in the mental hospital.
Clarify that way.
But we were doing a walkthrough, and we were up on the third or fourth floor, and there was a large group of people with us, and I had kind of tagged back a little bit. I felt like the energy was thick, and so I was having a hard time going through it. And we were walking down this long hallway, and you picture a rather large hospital. So it's a very long hallway with many doors coming out. And I walked to this one, I was just walking down the aisle, and this spirit of this woman came out and screamed in my ear, get out of here. Like, she was very, very volatile, was not impressed that I was there. And she struck at me in spirit, and she actually scratched my neck, and it threw me back. And I went, whoa, like that. And she was nasty looking. And she kind of sucked back into her room and dissipated and left. And you could actually see the scratch marks. They were putting flashlights and looking as I had screamed and jumped back. So yeah, I have been met by spirits that don't necessarily. One time there was another scenario where I was going through, we were doing an investigation, and a gentleman cut my throat spiritually. He slit my throat, and I kind of stepped back, and I got it. I was injured, scratched, and I was offended, and I immediately was like, "You need to stop. Like, that is not acceptable. I didn't give you permission." Right. Now, all the gentleman was trying to tell me was he was trying to show me how he was murdered and he had his throat slit. So he wasn't trying to hurt me. He was trying his best to show me, but sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yeah. That's scary. Pam said, I'm building a new team and want to find a psychic medium to join my team. How can you tell when a psychic medium is the real deal? Well, let me tell you what I have done. Now, I will tell you that psychic mediums and others have real abilities. So Kitty could read me until I had something going on. Obviously, I could tell she's got stuff going on. But I would tell you how I had a team do it once before. They had a building that they had pretty good activity in before. I had a lot of evidence captured, a lot of particular evidence captured, like particular evidence that if Katie and I had walked in the building, we'd pick up on. I would have that person walk through the building and not say a word. If you want to see the worth of anyone that says they have the ability to read or feel or hear or see the paranormal, let them walk in the building with no information at all. Give a notepad and pen, just kind of follow behind, listen. You'll know. But to say that also, I need to say that if any psychic medium says they're 100% correct, they're lying. Right. I don't think anybody can be 100% correct. No. Okay. It's a little too hard. Energy is hard to interpret sometimes. Things are a little different. It also could be a thing where energy has changed. So that didn't happen now. It's a lot involved with it. You know what I mean? But that's, Pam, that helps you. That's what I would do. I've had a team do that before.
Also, to find a team member. In other words, as a psychic medium, I mean, I'm an investigator, so I have dual roles. But I don't charge going into an investigation. I don't. I have other teams that contact me throughout the world, actually, and will ask me to remote view or go in and give my thoughts. It's not about money for me. Now, every person is different. I'm not going to judge whoever chooses to do what. But for me, it's about helping the individual. We don't charge an investigation. So therefore, how can I charge for doing cleansings? I wouldn't do that. It's sacrilegious to me. And I wouldn't certainly charge to go in and read a haunted location. I think that if you're going to be working with a team, if you want somebody as a team member, they're going to want to utilize their gifts to help you. It's not a money-making opportunity.
Right.
So really, it comes down to who you're interviewing and what they're about. If they're like, yeah, $200 I can come in and tell you, don't do it. I had a client a couple weeks ago, I guess more a couple months ago now, taken for $1,200 or $1,300 because the psychic said there was an evil entity in her house, and for that amount of money, she could be taken. This past weekend at the metaphysical event, I had a gentleman taken for $300 by a psychic, saying that his chakras were dirty and that she could cleanse them for this amount of money. I personally, I'm not going to judge other people, but I personally wouldn't charge for things like that. I feel that is something that I would morally not agree with. Yeah. Every psychic is different. I'm sure I'll get flack for that. But I think if you want somebody on your team, make sure that they are equal value and ethic and morals as the rest of your team.
So, and I agree completely with that. I'm looking at Herbie's next question. He says, have you ever helped people that were atheists or unbelievers in the paranormal?
Yes.
I've helped one. I actually helped one come to God. And then there have been a couple that I had taken from being unbelievers in the paranormal into just about peeing in their pants. And that was done for fun, just because I knew I could. And I've had this on, I had a gentleman, I'll cite one example. I had a gentleman on a public tour that we did. And in the public tour, towards the end of the night, usually at the end of the night, we do something called the human pendulum. Now, the human pendulum, I always will ask in the beginning of the evening, who here is a skeptic? And a lot of people go, oh, yeah, me. Okay. All right. So at the end of the night, the human pendulum works kind of like a compass. There's 4 points in the compass, 4 points in the human pendulum, one person in the middle. They are the pendulum. They are the stone. So in this, I engage spirit to be able to physically manipulate that person, which directions for yes, which directions for no, like you would a pendulum. Well, this poor guy got a very, very active spirit. He literally was almost launched off his heels 3 or 4 times. Looked at me at one point like he was, whoa, and he was serious. So we ended it. I cleansed him out of it. I closed it down. We left for the night. We went to Waffle House. It's kind of a really great place here in the States that we go to. And 2 friends that he came with were there, who are now on our team, by the way. They were solid clients and customers the entire time, not around the team. But anyway, I said to them, I said, where's your friends? And he said, oh, no, he went home. He went home. And I went, oh, okay. He said, never to speak of it again. Don't ever bring it up again. He's done with the paranormal. He doesn't want anything more to do with it. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've done it, and I've not done it sometimes to be the, nice guy to show you a good time. I've done it to prove the fact the paranormal exists, to stop acting like a jerk about it. All right, so let's go on to another one. It says, have you ever encountered a funny spirit, or are they all just mean and just seeking help?
No. Some of them love to play with you. Some of them love to have fun and communicate. They love it.
Yeah. I've had one that actually is not a human energy. It's actually a boggart, which is in the Fey lore. That he operated in a building called the Wright Hotel in Chatsworth, Georgia, because the Wright Hotel and subsequently most of the buildings in that area that were built up by Scottish and Irish immigrants. He came over with the group in the heyday, but he was just like a 2-year-old child. He would run behind you and pull your shirt. He'd run behind you and pull your hair. He'd hang from the ceiling and just kind of like pull a hat off. That kind of thing. But he got caught on camera several times. And, people just kind of go, what in the hell is that? Well, it's just a boggart. He looks like a 3-foot squirrel. And that's just what he looks like. It's kind of cool. But no, I mean, I've had a lot of fun spirits. I've had spirits laugh and joke with me during EVP sessions. I had one tell me, after I said, you have a beautiful home that he built by hand back in 1841. He said, thank you. I hope you enjoy my house. Yeah. So you got some really
good. How great is that?
Yeah. And I think we kind of have to roll it up a little bit because we're coming to the end of the show.
I know. Unbelievable.
Again. So we're going to, like I said, guys, in the beginning of the show, we're going to step away for the month of May, and we're going to try to regroup a little bit, have a little bit of a have a little bit of a headbanging session to figure out what we can do to bring you guys something different, something new. We enjoy having you as our viewers, and we don't want to lose you. And we're wanting to do this and continue to do this for your benefit. I'm sorry?
I said we love all of you.
Absolutely. You guys have been very faithful and loyal to us, and we appreciate you for it. And we will keep you updated as time goes along when we have a new set of shows lined up. Again, like I talked about earlier, if you weren't here, we're kind of looking at, bringing on some teams to kind of talk about what they do, some really active teams that have, that have some really strong experience, that are very active now, kind of trade methodologies, best practices, things like that. Talk about some of the fun stuff that's happening, their experiences. And again, we're open to ideas, guys. We've said a million times before. This show now is going on 5.5 years. And, Katie and I have been doing it 3. And yeah, we'd love to have some fresh ideas. But, hey, guys, let's talk about it paranormal at gmail.com. If you want to send it by email, you want to go to Facebook. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. It's got a Facebook page as well. Leave a message on there for us or on our personal page if we're friends. That'd be great. But guys, we appreciate you so much. And I guess that's why we want to take a step back to kind of think what we can do for you to, again, bring the reality of and the truth of the paranormal forward for you, and continue, if we're educating you in any way, to continue to educate you as we have for over 3 years now as a team. And guys, don't forget about us.
It's been that long. I can't believe it's been that long, Richard.
It's been that long. I've been doing it before you for 2.5. So it's like, yeah, I look back at a memory that that Facebook shot me from 5 years ago, 5 years and 2 months. And it was me when I first started the show. Crazy. Yeah, kind of crazy. Again, guys, we appreciate you being out here. It's a real joy to be able to come and bring this information and stuff to you guys. The interaction is incredible, and we appreciate it very much. Katie, you got anything you want to say before we sign off?
No, I appreciate it. And, guys, we often talk about multicasting, but we should give a little bit of a shout out. The multicasting we do is with the Paralinks Network and Things Network. So If you guys check them out on Facebook, a lot of times, there's some filters here of people have mentioned that they have problems they can't comment. If it doesn't work on this page, then certainly go to Things Network or Paralinks Network, and it may be able to work on that. Sometimes it's glitchy and sometimes it doesn't work, but we do love your comments and your input. So a big shout out to them as well. And again, we're still here. We're just on a bit of a hiatus, so please don't hesitate to reach out. We miss all of you. We will be back. If you like what you see, please give us a like and share. And you know what? When you miss us, we do have a Facebook page. Let's talk about it. You're welcome to go back and watch all the old shows. We have them all posted there. So don't be afraid to look at those too.
Oldies for goodies.
Yeah.
Guys, we appreciate you very much. We love you. We will see you in June. Yeah. And we'll have announcements coming forward before that begins. But hang with us. Hang tight. We plan on bringing you some new content. We promise we'll bring you some new content. And we love you all. And we will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.